Have you ever wondered why a simple cartoon seemed to terrify the Duke and Duchess more than any tabloid headline ever could? When South Park released their worldwide privacy tour episode, the world laughed at the surface-level jokes. We saw the Prince of Canada and his wife begging for privacy while setting off fireworks. It was funny, it was savage, and it felt like a classic takedown of celebrity narcissism. But if you looked closer past the jokes about blue penises and empty heads, the creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone were doing something much more dangerous. They weren't just mocking the couple's present. They were hinting at a very specific, very dark rumor about the Duchess's past that the royal family has allegedly spent millions trying to bury. For years, there have been whispers in the darkest corners of Hollywood and London. Whispers about Yacht Girl's deleted pasts and connections to some of the most notorious figures in recent history, including Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew. Most mainstream media won't touch this story. They are terrified of the lawsuits, but South Park didn't care. They animated the allegations scene by scene, hiding the truth in plain sight. And now a veteran German journalist is picking up where the cartoon left off, threatening to expose the years of Meghan's life that have been mysteriously scrubbed from the internet. Today we are breaking down the scandal that has Montecito in a panic. This isn't just about a cartoon. It's about the secret history of the Yacht Girl allegations. Let's start by dissecting what South Park actually put on the screen, because the devil is in the details. The episode opens with a scene that feels oddly specific. We see a glamorous yacht party filled with the elite champagne flowing the atmosphere exclusive and high class. Then we see the Meghan character. She isn't walking up the gangplank like an invited guest. She is literally climbing over the railing from a small dinghy, forcing her way into a world she wasn't invited to. This wasn't just a throwaway gag about her being a social climber. This was a direct visual reference to the Yacht Girl rumors that have dogged her for years. The term Yacht Girl sounds glamorous, but in the underbelly of Cannes and Monaco, it implies something very transactional. It refers to B-list actresses or models who are flown out to giant mega yachts to serve as eye candy or companionship for ultra-wealthy men. The South Park writers depicted her not as a royal icon, but as someone hustling to get on the boat, desperate to be seen holding her phone up to capture the moment for content before she's even secured her spot on the deck. In the episode, once she's on board, she doesn't blend in. She grabs the microphone, demands attention, and disrupts the flow. But look at how she interacts with the wealthy men in the scene. Her eyes literally turn into hearts when she spots a rich target. She trips, she falls, she creates a disaster, all while trying to present herself as seductive and charming. It's brutal slapstick, yes, but it frames her behavior as predatory. It suggests that her entry into high society wasn't a fairy tale romance, but a calculated business move that involved crashing parties until someone finally paid attention. South Park was saying the quiet part out loud. She wasn't Cinderella. She was a woman on a mission to secure a bag by any means necessary. To understand why this terrified the Sussex team, you have to understand the industry they are hinting at. The Hollywood Reporter once ran a scathing expose on the Cannes Film Festival describing a secret menu of actresses available for wealthy financiers. It's a gray market where the line between professional networking and paid companionship blurs into nothingness. The accusation, and we must emphasize these are allegations, is that long before she met Harry, Meghan was a known figure in these circles. The rumor mill suggests that this is how she funded her lifestyle before Suits took off and even during the show's hiatuses. There is a specific behavior pattern associated with this lifestyle: the constant travel to places like Croatia, Greece, and the French Riviera, often without a clear work itinerary, and the posting of thirst trap bikini photos on yachts that don't belong to her friends. It acts as a signal. In the digital age, Instagram became the new portfolio for this kind of networking. South Park captured this perfectly with the character's obsession with her brand and her phone. Even as she's being thrown off the yacht, rejected by the actual elite, she is snapping a selfie, captioning it as the best party ever. This is a devastating critique of the influencer facade. It suggests that the reality of her life was messy, chaotic, and full of rejection, but the digital image she presented to the world and eventually to Prince Harry was carefully curated to hide the hustle. But cartoons are one thing. Witnesses are another. The reason these rumors have stuck around for so long is that people have started talking. One of the most vocal figures is a man named Christopher Jones, who admitted to working as a yacht boy, essentially the male equivalent in this industry. He has publicly claimed that he saw Meghan in these circles. He describes a world that is transactional and cold, a stark contrast to the humanitarian image she projects today. Then there is the Adam Hahn mystery. A leaked email chain from 2016 purportedly shows a man named Adam Hahn inviting Meghan to a yacht week in Croatia. While her team claims she didn't respond, travel records indicate she had already visited Croatia in 2014. It raises the question, who was funding these trips? Who was she meeting? This brings us to the shadowy figure of Marcus Anderson. If you follow this story, you know that all roads eventually lead to Soho House. Marcus is often described as Meghan's best friend, but insiders describe him as a fixer. Soho House is a private members club that prides itself on discretion. It's where royalty meets Hollywood, and it's where Harry and Meghan had their first blind date. But if the rumors are true, Marcus wasn't just a friend setting up two singles. He was a handler managing a client. The theory is that he facilitated her entry into these elite circles, acting as the bridge between a cable TV actress and the British aristocracy. South Park didn't animate Marcus, but they animated the result of his work, a woman who successfully infiltrated the most exclusive family on Earth. Now we get to the part that genuinely keeps the palace lawyers awake at night. The most explosive variation of the Yacht Girl rumor is that Meghan didn't just meet Harry. She met his uncle Prince Andrew first. We know that Prince Andrew was heavily involved in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. We know he frequented the same yacht parties and social circles that are often cited in these rumors. Author Kirby Summers and other investigative journalists have floated the theory that Meghan and Andrew crossed paths as early as 2001, or perhaps during her time as a suitcase girl on Deal or No Deal. There is a persistent urban legend about a photograph. Allegedly, there was a picture of a young Meghan Markle and Prince Andrew together taken years before she met Harry. The story goes that this photo has been scrubbed from the internet, bought up, or buried by legal teams. If such a photo were to surface, it would be game over. It would prove that she knew the family knew the players and that her "I didn't know much about the royals" spiel to Oprah was a complete fabrication. Think about the timeline. If she was circulating in the Epstein/Andrew sphere, even on the periphery, she would have seen things. She would know things. This creates a terrifying leverage dynamic. Did the royal family welcome her in not because they loved her, but because they needed to keep her close? Was the rushed wedding a way to silence someone who knew too much about the spare heir's uncle? It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but then you look at what happened with the court case. Virginia Giuffre is the woman who accused Prince Andrew of abuse, a case he settled for millions of dollars. But during the discovery phase of that lawsuit, something strange happened. Virginia's lawyers stated they wanted to depose Meghan Markle. They wanted to put the Duchess of Sussex under oath and ask her what she knew. Why Meghan? Of all the people in the world, why would a victim of Jeffrey Epstein need to speak to Prince Harry's wife? Unless, of course, Virginia knew that Meghan had been there. Virginia's lawyers hinted that Meghan might have intimate knowledge of the operations or had witnessed Andrew's behavior during that time period. The panic that ensued was palpable. If Meghan had been forced to testify, she would have been under penalty of perjury. She would have had to answer questions about her past, whereabouts, her connections to Marcus Anderson, and her history with the yachting scene. Suddenly, the royal family settled. Prince Andrew paid a massive sum to make the case go away. While Andrew's reputation was the main concern, many analysts believed that keeping Meghan off the witness stand was a massive secondary motivation. South Park mocked the privacy tour, but this was the ultimate act of buying privacy. Fast forward to today, South Park has cracked the seal, making it acceptable to mock the couple. But a cartoon can be dismissed. A documentary by a serious investigative journalist cannot. Ulrike Grunewald, a veteran reporter for Germany's ZDF network, is currently working on a deep dive documentary about the Sussexes. And here is why this is dangerous. German media laws are different. They don't have the same deference to the British royal family, and they are harder to bully with American libel lawyers. Grunewald is known for being meticulous. Her team has been spotted in Montecito knocking on doors, talking to neighbors, and digging into the archives. Reports suggest she is focusing on the missing years, the periods of Meghan's life that seem to have been erased from the public record. We're talking about her college years at Northwestern, where she supposedly spent very little time on campus, and her early 20s struggling in Hollywood. The rumor is that when Meghan entered the royal fold, British intelligence MI5 and MI6 did a sweep of her digital footprint. They scrubbed the embarrassing photos, the old blogs, the connections to questionable figures. But you can't scrub everything. Paper trails exist, witnesses exist, and a German documentary crew doesn't care about preserving the mystique of the monarchy. They care about the scoop. If Grunewald finds evidence of the yachting past, or worse, a connection to the Epstein circle, it won't just be a scandal. It will be a historical rewriting of why Harry married her. This brings us back to the brilliance of the South Park episode. The character is shown constantly rebranding. First, she's a victim, then a humanitarian, then a podcast host, then an Instagram influencer. It highlights the artificiality of her narrative. The reason the Yacht Girl label hurts her so much is that it shatters the class structure she has tried to build. She positions herself as a feminist icon, a woman who made it on her own intelligence and grit. The Yacht Girl narrative suggests she made it by catering to the desires of powerful men. It frames her not as a feminist leader, but as a participant in a deeply misogynistic system, one she willingly utilized to climb the ladder only to criticize the hierarchy once she reached the top. That scene in South Park where the prince's head is empty, that's a dig at Harry's oblivion. But the scene where Meghan is thrown off the boat and immediately spins it into a blessed moment, that is a dig at her sociopathic ability to rewrite reality. She reframes rejection as success. She reframes exposure as victimhood. So why haven't they sued Meghan is notorious for litigation. She sued the Mail on Sunday over a letter to her father. Harry is suing half of the British press. Yet when South Park, a show watched by millions, essentially called her a fraud and alluded to her questionable past, there was silence. Sources claim she was furious and overwhelmed by the episode, allegedly spending days upset in her Montecito mansion. Her legal team reportedly looked into it. But here is the trap. You cannot sue for satire in the United States unless you can prove actual malice, which is nearly impossible. But more importantly, you can't sue over the truth. If she sues South Park for implying she was a social climber or a yacht girl, she opens herself up to the discovery process in court. South Park's lawyers would be allowed to demand emails, text messages, and financial records to prove that their parody was based on reality. It would be the Virginia Giuffre subpoena all over again. She would have to hand over the very secrets she is trying to hide. This is the Streisand effect in action. By acting outraged, she draws more attention to the rumors. By staying silent, she lets the rumors fester. She is trapped in a prison of her own making, constantly demanding privacy while desperately seeking attention, just like the cartoon depicted. But the damage goes far beyond legal threats or German documentaries. Look at what is actually happening on the ground in California. When the Sussexes first fled the UK, the plan was simple: become the kings and queens of Montecito. They expected to be the power players, assuming invites would pour in for the Met Gala, the Oscars, and Barack Obama's exclusive birthday bash. But notice something. Those invites never came. The A-list embrace has turned into a cold shoulder, and South Park explains exactly why. Hollywood is a small town disguised as a big industry. The power brokers, the Spielbergs, the Winfreys, the Clooneys, they all operate in the same high-altitude circles where the yachting rumors originated. They know how the game is played because they invented the rules. They know the difference between legitimate talent and aggressive social climbing. The industry insiders didn't need a cartoon to tell them about the alleged hustle. They likely knew the whispers long before the public did. South Park just gave everyone permission to stop pretending. This explains the frantic, almost manic pivoting we are seeing right now. The sudden launch of lifestyle brands, the jars of jam sent to influencers, the desperate attempts to be viral on Instagram again. It mirrors that specific South Park scene perfectly. The characters screaming, "Look at me," and "Stop looking at me," simultaneously, while the rest of the room looks away in embarrassment. In the industry, they call this the freeze out. You don't get loudly canceled, you just stop getting invited. You become socially radioactive. For a woman who allegedly built her entire identity on networking her way up the ladder from the yacht deck to the palace balcony being ignored is a fate worse than any tabloid headline. The cartoon stripped away the mystery and the elite response confirmed the verdict: the hustle is over. The fairy tale is starting to look a lot more like a failed business plan, and the investors are pulling out. South Park didn't just make us laugh, they signaled a shift in the culture. For years, the media was afraid to criticize the Sussexes for fear of being called racist or hateful. But when a cartoon portrays them as empty-headed grifters hiding a shady past and the whole world laughs, the shield of invincibility is broken. The Yacht Girl allegations, the Prince Andrew connections, the scrubbed photos, these are no longer just whispers on conspiracy forums. They are bleeding into the mainstream conversation. And with the German documentary on the horizon, we might be weeks away from moving from parody to proof. Meghan Markle learned the hard way that you can scrub the internet, but you can't scrub people's memories. She climbed the ladder, she crashed the party, and she got the prince. But as South Park showed us, getting on the yacht is the easy part. Staying on it without slipping on your own lies, that's the challenge. What do you think is the Yacht Girl story? Just a smear campaign by jealous critics? Or is it the missing puzzle piece that explains how a cable actress ended up in Kensington Palace? And are you going to watch the German documentary when it drops? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, in this Game of Thrones, the truth usually comes out even if it has to be animated first.